Ever find yourself at your desk, surrounded by people who all seem to have it together, and you think, if they only knew how lost I feel, I'd be out of here in 5 minutes. Or maybe it's 2 in the morning, you're staring at the ceiling, and you realize you've been living in the same apartment for 7 years. But it still feels temporary, like you're just camping out, waiting for your real life to actually start. If any of that hits close to home, I've got a question that'll probably keep you up even longer. What if the person you're waiting for, the one who's supposed to show up and sort your life out, never comes? What if this feeling, this sense of just waiting around, isn't a phase? What if it's a trap you built without even noticing? I'm Emma Chamberlain, and this is the Infographics. Today, we're not just naming that old millennial malaise one more time. We're going to break it down, figure out where it comes from, and, most importantly, talk about how to actually get out of it. Because, yeah, the waiting room's cozy, but it's still just a waiting room. No one's coming to call your name. Let's start with the facts, because wow, they're hard to ignore. Millennials make up 22% of the US population. That's over 72 million people. We're not some weird little group off to the side. We're the biggest generation in the country. But here's the wild part. More than half of us say we never really learned how to adult. 63% say nobody prepared them for what being a grown-up would actually feel like. Think about that. Almost 2/3 of a whole generation, tens of millions of us, feel like we missed the first day of class. And here's the kicker. It's not just you. It's almost all of us. So yeah, it's not some personal failing. It's something bigger. It's a generational thing. Researchers have started calling this the waiting room effect. Basically, it's the sense that your real life hasn't started yet. You're just passing time, waiting for some signal, some green light that says you can finally begin. You pay rent, but you're waiting to buy. You have a job, but you're waiting for a career. You're in relationships, but you're waiting for something more real. You go through the motions, but it all feels like warm-up laps, not the real race. Remember being a kid in a waiting room? Doctor's office, DMV, wherever. Just staring at a door, waiting for someone to call your name. That weird, not quite real feeling, like you're just killing time until the actual thing starts. Now imagine living like that for years, for your whole adult life even. That's the waiting room effect, and honestly, it's eating us alive. But here's where it gets interesting. If you want to know why millennials feel this way, you have to look at the map we were handed, and the territory we actually landed in. And the map? Yeah, it was a lie. For older generations, especially the baby boomers, adulthood came with a script. It was pretty straightforward. You finished school, got a steady job, maybe even with a pension, stuck with the same company for decades. You bought a house, got married, had kids, worked until retirement, picked up your gold watch, moved to Florida, played golf. The end. That was the American dream, especially after World War II. From 1945 to 1970, the economy exploded. The GI Bill sent millions to college and helped them buy homes. Manufacturing jobs were everywhere. Unions were strong, and a single paycheck could cover a whole family. Suburbs popped up overnight, full of houses you could actually afford. Something like 2.5 times your yearly salary. It really was a good deal, and it set the standard for what adulthood was supposed to look like. But that world? Long gone. Has been for decades, and it's not coming back. Let's talk about housing for a second, because this is where the gap between what we expected and what we got really shows up. In 1970, the median home price in the US was about $23,000. Median household income? Around $9,000. So a house cost about 2.5 times what a family made in a year. Totally doable for someone with a steady job. Right now, the typical home in the US costs about $400,000. The median household brings in around $75,000 a year. So yeah, that's more than 5 times annual income. In cities like New York, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Boston, or Seattle, It's even worse. The ratio jumps to 10 times or more. And that's before you even talk about interest rates, which are all over the place these days. Or student loans. Over 40 million Americans owe nearly $40,000 each, on average. Meanwhile, wages have barely budged in decades, but the price of everything, housing, healthcare, college, even getting around, just keeps climbing. Nearly half of millennials, almost 48%, are still renting. Not because they want to, but because they have to. And renting today? It's nothing like it was for your parents or grandparents. Back in 1970, rent usually took up about 20% of your income. Now, in a lot of places, it eats up 30%, 40%, sometimes even half your monthly paycheck. Good luck saving for a down payment when your money's gone before you can blink. A third of millennials get by with gig work, at least some of the time. That means no steady income, no health insurance from your job, no contributions to retirement, no paid vacation. You're hustling nonstop, always behind, and it feels like missing just one gig could send everything crashing down. Here's the number that really hits home. Almost 3 out of 4 millennials, 75%, say they're living paycheck to paycheck. Saving is basically off the table. If you get hit with a surprise medical bill, your car breaks down, or you lose your job, the whole thing can unravel fast. Landlords won't wait for their rent. Credit card debt stacks up. Suddenly, even the idea of ever owning a home or just feeling stable starts to feel impossible. All this uncertainty has wiped out the sense of security earlier generations took for granted. When you're always one bad break away from disaster, how are you supposed to feel like you've made it? You're not a homeowner, you're a renter who has to jump through extra hoops. Not a professional, just a gig worker with a fancier title. Not really an adult, just someone who figured out how to pay bills on time. That brings us to the rental car theory. Once you hear it, you'll start spotting it everywhere. Think about how you treat a car you own. When it's yours, you take care of it. You get the oil changed, wash it, maybe even park a little farther from the store to avoid scratches. You look after it because you're planning to keep it. But a rental car? Totally different story. You don't worry about oil changes. You park wherever. You might push the engine a little harder than you should. Why not? It's not yours, and you'll hand it back in a few days anyway. Now, imagine living your whole life that way. A lot of millennials do, even if they don't realize it. Apartments? Just for now, until they can buy. Jobs? Temporary, waiting for something better. Cities? Pit stops. Relationships? Casual, until the right person comes along. Life itself? It can feel like just killing time, waiting for permission to really start living. When everything feels temporary, you stop investing in it. You don't put down roots. You don't build much. You don't care the same way, because caring means committing. And committing feels impossible when nothing in your life feels certain or permanent. Then you wake up one day and wonder why nothing feels solid. Why you're 35 and still feel 22. Why you've lived somewhere for years but never feel at home. Why relationships seem shallow, work feels empty, and your weekends feel like a timeout before next week's grind. You're treating your life like a rental car, and rental cars never become home. It shows up in the numbers too. Just 44% of millennials are married in 2025. Only about half have kids. Compare that to boomers, over 80% married by their 30s. Gen X, around 70%. Millennials, barely 44%. That gap says a lot. And let's be clear, millennials actually do want these things. Look at the research. Most say they want to get married, have kids, own a home. The dream's still alive, at least in theory. But eventually is always the word. There's always another reason to wait. Need more money, need a better job, haven't met the right person yet, should probably save a bit longer. Then one day you look up and you're 40. Eventually has quietly turned into probably never. And it's not just about families and houses. Millennials spend less time hanging out with friends in person than any generation before them. Most of the social stuff now happens online. Likes, comments, DMs. Real friendships, the kind that take time and work, get swapped out for quick interactions with people who mostly exist as little circles in your contacts. If you feel like you're just passing through life, it's hard to see the point in putting in the effort for anything deeper. Money's the same story, especially when it comes to investing. Only about 57% of millennials and Gen Z have money in the stock market. That's way lower than boomers or Gen X when they were the same age. For decades, the stock market has been the easiest way for regular people to build real wealth. Compound interest is basically magic, but you only get the magic if you actually show up. Part of the problem is just reality. If you're living paycheck to paycheck, investing sounds like a ridiculous luxury. But there's more to it than that. If you don't really believe the future is worth betting on, why bother? If you're always waiting for your real life to finally start, why worry about retirement or saving or planning? That constant waiting spills over into everything, even the choices that could actually help you get unstuck. So when the present feels shaky and the future looks like a giant question mark, where do you go? For a lot of millennials, the answer is backward, back into nostalgia. No other generation has clung to the past quite like this one. You see it everywhere. All the 90s shows and movies getting rebooted. Vinyl records selling for more than they ever cost new. People still playing video games they loved as kids. Super Nintendo, Pokemon, all of it. Disney adults, folks who build their lives around childhood cartoons and the merch that comes with them. There's a word for it, Peter Panning. It's the refusal to grow up, the urge to hold on to childhood, to dodge all the grown-up stuff that feels impossible or pointless. And Gen Z is happy to point it out. Scroll through TikTok and you'll see it. Anytime a millennial gets soft about Blink-182 or Harry Potter, Gen Z goes in hard. They call it cringe. They call it sad. They call it out for what it is, getting stuck. But nostalgia is tempting for a reason. It's warm. It's safe. You already know how the story ends. When the world outside feels like it's coming apart, AI taking jobs, climate disasters, everything always in crisis, who wouldn't want to escape to somewhere that feels safe and familiar? It feels like self-care. Sometimes it feels like the only refuge left. But it isn't. It's just another trap. You can't make new memories if you only live in old ones. You can't build a future if you hide from it. You can't find real connection if you're holding on to ghosts. Nostalgia's comfortable, sure, but comfort isn't growth, and growth is the only thing that actually gets you anywhere. The waiting room is cozy. Maybe it has some old magazines, maybe the snack machine still works, but it's still just a waiting room, and no one's coming to call your name. That's the part that hurts most. The truth we all dodge, distract ourselves from, or smother under another Netflix binge. We keep waiting for a sign, for someone to say it's time, for the economy to magically fix itself, for the housing market to finally crash, for the right person to just appear, for the promotion or the miracle or some big, obvious moment that tells us, now. Now is when your real life starts. But that moment never shows up. There's no doctor in this waiting room, just you, the door, and the decision. Walk out or keep waiting forever. Here's the twist. Your parents felt like this too. They just hid it better. Or maybe their world made it easier to fake. Boomers and Gen X, they faked it too. They had their own sleepless nights, staring at the ceiling, wondering if they'd blown it. They felt like imposters, just going through the motions, waiting for someone to notice and call them out. The thing is, they had a roadmap. Faking it was easier because the script was already written. The economy played along. Hitting milestones felt possible, and the way forward looked obvious. When you're following a trail that's been trampled 1,000 times before, It's pretty easy to believe you know where you're headed. And when everyone else is on that same trail, at the same pace, it's easy to feel like you're doing it right. You don't have that luxury. But honestly, that's not a bad thing. You're not stuck with those old limits either. Here's the unexpected piece of the American dream is dead conversation. You get to decide what adulthood means for you. You don't have to buy a house in the suburbs, raise 2.5 kids, and build a white picket fence, unless that's what actually makes you happy. You don't have to pledge loyalty to one job for 4 decades. You don't have to stick to a script written by people who grew up in a completely different world with totally different rules. So the real question isn't, how do I copy my parents' lives? It's, what do I actually want mine to look like? Maybe you dream of owning a home in the city instead of the suburbs. Maybe you want a tiny house, or to live in a co-op, or to rent on purpose because you like the freedom. Maybe you want marriage and kids, or maybe you want deep friendships, creative work, and a life that doesn't look anything like a 1950s sitcom. Maybe you want a career that means something, even if it doesn't pay like a CEO gig. Or maybe you want a simple job that gives you the money and space to chase your real passions. Maybe adulthood isn't a trophy you win, but a way of being you choose. Not a checklist, but a relationship with yourself and your choices. Not a script, but the guts to make it up as you go. Bottom line, it has to be yours. Not your parents', not society's, not Instagram's, not whatever the algorithm is pushing this week. Yours. That means making real choices, giving yourself permission instead of waiting for someone else to hand it over. It means looking at your bank account and making a plan, even if it's just save $20 a week. It means investing what you can, when you can, because time in the market matters way more than trying to time it. And honestly, believing in your own future is the first step to actually having one. It means putting down roots, however temporary, where you are. Because even roots that don't last forever still give you something to grow from. It means showing up for your people, for real, not just through a screen. It means having the tough talks, making the plans, taking the leap. It means deciding that this, right now, in this not quite perfect apartment, with your not quite perfect job and not quite perfect relationships, is your real life. Not a dress rehearsal, not a holding pattern, not a just until something better shows up phase. This is it, the only life you get. And yeah, it's messy. Sometimes it's chaos. There are no guarantees. But honestly, owning your mess is the whole point. That's adulthood, not stability, but learning to steer through the waves. Not certainty, but acting anyway. Not a script, but the confidence to improvise when the script runs out. You're not alone, by the way. Millions of millennials are figuring this out at the same time. The waiting room is packed. Look around. You'll see the same confusion, the same questions, the same longing in other people's eyes. But here's the tough part. Nobody else can do it for you. The door is right there. It's been there all along. It's not locked. You don't need a key or a password or permission. You just have to open it. Maybe that starts tonight. Instead of nuking some mac and cheese and zoning out to that 90s cartoon again, maybe you call someone and actually talk. Maybe you go out and be around other people. Maybe you look at your budget and tweak one small thing. Maybe you let yourself want something, really want it, and then take the tiniest step toward it. Not because someone said you could, not because the timing's perfect, not even because you feel ready, but because you're the adult now. That's both terrifying and freeing, isn't it? You're the grown-up. There's no one else coming. No cavalry, no magic rescue, no sudden click where everything falls into place. There's just you, your real life, and the choices you make. So what now? Are you going to keep waiting? Keep scrolling? Keep telling yourself that someday, somehow, it's all going to be different? Or are you going to stand up, walk to that door, and open it? The waiting room feels safe. I get it. I've been there. We all have. Sometimes the pain you know feels easier than the freedom you don't. The devil you know, right? So, what's waiting on the other side of that door? Everything. The good stuff and the bad. Joy, heartbreak, wins, failures. You'll laugh so hard you cry, and sometimes you'll cry so much it feels like there's nothing left. You'll meet people who turn your world upside down. You'll do work that actually matters. You'll find love that changes you. And you'll meet a version of yourself you haven't even imagined yet. The one who stopped waiting around and just started living. That version of you isn't some far-off dream. They're here, right now, just a decision away. The door's always been open. All you have to do is step through. Thanks for hanging out with us on the infographics. If this video hit home for you, if it made you feel seen, a little uncomfortable, fired up, or all of the above, go ahead and hit that like button. It really helps the channel, and it tells us these deep dives into today's psychology matter to you. Don't forget to subscribe and tap the notification bell so you don't miss anything. We've got a lot more coming, stuff about generational shifts, money trends, and honestly, just how weird it is trying to figure life out right now. We want to hear from you too. Do you feel stuck in the waiting room? What's one thing you've done or want to do to take charge of your own story? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We read every single one. Your stories shape what we talk about here. The comments are one of the rare places where we can really connect, actually talk, and remind each other we're not in this alone. So go for it. Tell your story. And hey, maybe share this video with someone who needs it. That friend who's pretending they've got it together, but is actually waiting, wondering if they're the only one. Send it to your group chat, post it, whatever. Be the one who starts that conversation someone's been needing. They'll thank you for it. Maybe not right away, maybe not even out loud, but someday. Because you'll have let them know it's okay to stop waiting, too. That's it for today. I'm your host, Emma Chamberlain, and this is the infographics. Stay curious, stay brave, and remember, the door's always been open. You just have to walk through. See you next time.